Welcome back to Dead Reckoning, the Human Life Expectancy channel. In our last video, we showed how we came to believe that global human life expectancy could well increase by more than 10 years in the next 20 years. While we stand by this projection, our Dead Reckoning also gives us good reasons to be less optimistic in the more distant future. In fact, over the long term, we think that Homo sapiens, like all other animals, may be doomed to extinction. In this video, we'll share these reasons, but we'll also offer some hope that we humans may be able to adapt our way out of the many challenges we face. So, what makes us think that humanity might be doomed in the long run? Let's start with a universal frame of reference. First, despite recent congressional UFO hearings, there is no evidence of other intelligent life elsewhere in the universe. This fact does not augur well for our ability to endure as a species. If intelligent life did exist outside Earth, you'd think we might have been able to find some sign of it by now. Yet, we've seen no little green men, and no so-called UFO sighting has resulted in a single artifact that cannot otherwise be explained. Even indirect efforts of observation, for example by detecting radio waves from distant civilizations, have so far failed. As the thinking goes, other advanced civilizations would almost certainly have created radio signals that travel at the speed of light, and those signals would be discoverable. Based on this premise, the SETI program, the Search for the Extraterrestrial Intelligence, has analyzed electromagnetic radiation now from billions of stars since the 1980s, and so far they've found nothing. While there are many good reasons to continue to look, for the time being we can say that the odds of discovering any advanced civilization such as ours are extremely low. What about other, less advanced life forms? While we still have much to learn about the ease and frequency with which life starts in other places in the universe, witness our important and extensive search for life on Mars, Europa, Enceladus, and Titan, current evidence is that ingredients to create life as we know it are relatively common. So, combined with our first point, this suggests that life may start with some frequency, but then gets wiped out before it creates an advanced society such as ours. Why might that be? Life could get snuffed out by natural causes or other mechanisms. The rate of natural disasters is relatively common throughout the universe. For example, stars, the source of all energy and therefore all life as we know it, live between hundreds of millions to hundreds of billions of years, and their deaths would likely extinguish life within their solar systems. Asteroid collisions, solar flares, and other celestial mishaps are more common, but even then, from a purely mathematical perspective, this still leaves time and room for life to evolve for billions of years in many billions of solar systems before being wiped out by a celestial mishap. In 1961, University of California astronomer Frank Drake devised the Drake equation and roughly estimated that there might be 10,000 planets with intelligent life just within the Milky Way, to say nothing of those in the billions of other galaxies. So, what else might cause intelligent life to die out? Even though other worlds might not be like our own, it does make sense to look at the factors that currently threaten our own extinction. For example, how about the fact that Homo sapiens is an animal that evolved through natural selection to be fundamentally self-interested? Like all known species, we evolved through natural selection to reproduce, which means that our primary interests are in surviving, attracting mates, and having offspring. So evolution, the very mechanism that created us and presumably would give rise to other intelligent species on other planets, has made us self-centered beings. We compete bitterly with fellow Homo sapiens and other species to live and reproduce. As evolutionary biologist Richard Dawkins noted, our selfish genes cause us to focus on these small, selfish concerns. Since beings like us tend to serve ourselves at the expense of others, it's plausible that this reliably leads either to unsustainable growth or war, both of which could kill us off. Perhaps this fundamental selfishness, which evolved to help us thrive, could ultimately cause us and life forms elsewhere in the universe to fail to grasp and work together to resolve the species-wide issues that ultimately lead to species-wide demise. Even worse, today we face 7 global existential issues that must be resolved, but the global coordination and governance to resolve these issues are either nascent, ineffective, or non-existent. These existential issues are human population growth. How will exponential human population growth end? Our species' growth has been exponential and clearly is unsustainable. We must either find a way of stopping it ourselves, or we will certainly suffer a population crash. See our video, How Will Human Population Growth End, for more on this. Climate change. How will we stop and reverse the damage we're doing to this Earth's ecosystems? By one recent estimate, climate change is responsible for at least 10% of current yearly deaths. Further disrupting the Earth's ecosystems could easily disrupt our food chain, create pandemics or wars that would do us in as a species. Nuclear war. How will we avoid a nuclear holocaust? Since the 1960s, humanity has threatened itself with nuclear annihilation. While deaths from wars have been on a downward trajectory, nuclear and biological weapons of mass destruction are clearly a non-zero risk to Homo sapiens today. See our video, Deaths from Pandemics, WMDs, and Climate Change for more on this. Multiply this non-zero risk by 1 billion years, and Homo sapiens' destruction from these weapons quickly approaches a certainty. As of April 2023, the doomsday clock set by the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists is set to 90 seconds before midnight. Hardly confidence-inspiring. Pandemics. How will we avoid and survive naturally occurring or weaponized pandemics? Pandemics could quickly spread through our population, killing us off. Globalization, deforestation, commercial livestock practices, and other factors are driving new pandemics. And since the materials and know-how for creating biological weapons are much more widely available than for creating nuclear weapons, this risk is probably much larger. Again, see our Deaths from Pandemics, WMDs, and Climate Change video for more on this. Natural cataclysms. How will we avoid and survive the worst that nature may throw our way? Natural disasters from meteors to supervolcanoes could also possibly end life on Earth. Food supply. How will we transform our food supply to deliver healthier food and be more sustainable? Since our food production takes up almost half of the planet's land surface, is driving many species to extinction, is now a primary contributor to obesity, heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and results in the deaths of tens of billions of animals a year, failure to transform it could also lead to our demise. See our video on new food technologies for more on this. Evolving ourselves and other species. How will we choose to evolve? Genetic engineering and new reproductive technologies give us the power to choose how we and other species will evolve. Poor or self-interested decisions could cause maladaptation or even extinction of ourselves and other species. The number and seriousness of these issues means that we'll need to be some combination of lucky and smart to continue to thrive. Note that these existential issues can only be resolved at a global level. As Albert Einstein famously said, there's only one path to peace and security, the path of supranational organization. Overall, National Geographic cites that over 99% of all species that have ever existed on Earth are now extinct. What makes us think that we can escape these odds? So, both universal and current terrestrial evidence suggests that Homo sapiens is heading toward extinction. Given this, you'd think we'd be laser-focused on helping ourselves and other species to survive. Yet, most of us are distracted with smaller issues that somehow seem more urgent. But as author Elizabeth Kolbert writes, the sixth great extinction is upon us, while many countries are still fighting among themselves for local short-term advantage. Even at the individual level, most of us spend the vast majority of our time doing what we have to do to live. Eating, sleeping, and working to sustain our families, seldom if ever acting from a species-wide or planet-wide perspective. We'll talk much more about the necessary changes to our lives, our commerce, and our societies in the next section of videos, the ones with blue banners. But for now, if life is so improbable in the universe, all species face extinction on Earth, and we've also got at least 7 things that could wipe us out right now, what's the hope for humanity's long-term survival? Obviously, something has to change, and that thing is us. We think that our best hope is to evolve quickly enough to save ourselves. We've got to evolve beyond our selfish instincts and learn to focus on group and species-wide behaviors and initiatives that will save us over the long term. To say that this will be difficult is an understatement. Other species, from bees to whales, have evolved highly complex group behaviors that have become critical to their survival. I'll leave it to Richard Dawkins and others to opine upon how widespread and learnable such behaviors might be. But the core question is, can humanity do this in the areas that matter? It seems that we're trying and actually making some progress. We suspect that this is behind many of the political struggles we face today. In the US and many other countries, we see a battle between those who support putting themselves and their country first and those that recognize that a global future is the only shot we have at surviving over the long term. Since those that are starving or suffering will always put their individual needs first, the fundamental human challenge we face today is to satisfy our current needs well enough that we can rise above them and consider what's best for our species and other species. Another positive sign is that global fertility rates are quickly falling. While this could be pure happenstance, it could also be an instance of species-wide self-preservation. Other animals, from ants and bees and rats to even elephants, have mechanisms for limiting the sizes of their populations. Is it possible that some similar process is afoot with we humans? Another positive sign is that around the world, and largely unaided by concerted global effort, our thoughts are evolving far more quickly than and taking dominance over the evolution of our genes. In effect, the sapiens, or the thinking part of the species, is dominating the homo, or the gene-propagating side, in ever more realms. We'll explore this in much greater detail in our video, Do We Evolve Ideas or Genes? But for now, we'll note the recent dramatic advances in birth control, women's rights, and minority rights, which we all support, all effectively assert that our thoughts or choice should have dominance over the evolutionary drive to reproduce and evolution of our genes from a natural selection standpoint. This points to the necessity of allowing our volitional evolution of both our bodies and our minds to continue to accelerate as a matter of survival. Attempts to stop the evolution of our bodies or attempts to slow the evolution of our thoughts could have the unintended consequence of dooming us to extinction on our current, almost certain trajectory toward doom. We can only survive by breaking free from this trend. This gives us real hope. Homo sapiens' most salient survival strategy has always been to adapt. Our arms, our hands with opposable thumbs, and more recently, our ability to think and plan easily qualify us as the most adaptable species on the planet. And as Professor Leon G. Megginson famously noted, it's not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent that survives. It's the one that is most adaptable to change. This requires that we adapt, which could well involve leveraging genetic engineering and other technologies covered in the Dead Reckoning series as a matter of survival. Ironically, perhaps the most likely way we humans will become extinct is by rapidly evolving ourselves into one or more new species through volitional evolution. See our video on that topic for more. So, from a Dead Reckoning perspective, even if the outcome of this strategy has a low probability of success over the very long term, our only choice is to develop globally coordinated strategies to address the 7 existential risks and attempt to extend human life expectancy. Thanks again for joining us. In our next series of videos, we'll build on this notion and focus on the implications of living longer on our lives, our commerce, and our societies. In the meantime, please hit the like button below, subscribe to the Human Life Expectancy channel to make sure you don't miss our next videos, and post comments for the topics you'd like to have us cover. Thanks for joining us. Until next time, as we say at Human Life Expectancy Inc., hi hua! Please, do what you can to help yourself and help us all to live longer.